Today, Sylvie and I are in the Hertfordshire village of Walkern, which is situated in the northern central part of the county, and it's just a few minutes from where we live. The village isn't well known, even by people who live in the county. It does, however, have quite a colourful history and many interesting stories, many of which I talk about in one of my previous videos entitled The Most Amazing Plane Crash, which is about an incident we witnessed here a few years ago. We've chosen a local walk today as the country is entering a heat wave and temperatures are predicted to hit nearly 30 degrees Celsius today. We didn't see the point of travelling far in case it got too hot and we had to abort the walk. We're starting our walk from the village church, where there is a small car park, and we're walking along a narrow lane known as Bockings. The lane goes for just a couple of 100 yards before it arrives at a junction with another lane. We turn left here and begin walking up the hill towards a place called Batus Green. Half a mile up the hill we arrive at Batus Green, which comprises of just 2 farms and a few cottages. It was also the site of a POW camp during World War II, housing Italian prisoners of war. At the crossroad junction, Sylvie and I turn right and walk just a few 100 yards until we reach a cluster of cottages at a place known as Clay End. We follow the lane through Clay End until it comes to a large Georgian manor known as Walkern Hall, and it's here we take a footpath leading off to the left that takes us across the estate, and it offers us a grand view of the manor house as we walk along it. The footpath brings us onto a lovely tree-lined avenue which runs for about 1/3 of a mile. At the end of the avenue we come to a gatehouse which would have once been the original entrance to the manor house estate. Passing through the gate brings us to the village of Bennington. As we arrived at the village green, we were pleasantly surprised to find a large gathering of people who had come to attend the annual village fete. The village green is surrounded by a number of charming old timber-framed cottages, and there is also the entrance to another large manor house known as Bennington Lordship. Bennington Lordship is built on the site of an Anglo-Saxon palace, and it was here in 770 AD that the famous Anglo-Saxon King Offa was born. The manor house is also used on occasions as a filming location. Most recently, a BBC Cold War spy drama, Summer of Rockets, was filmed here. I took these photographs back in January when we came to view their famous snowdrops. Our walk continues from the village green, where we head up a narrow thoroughfare known as Duck Lane. As we walked along Duck Lane, we stopped to chat to a local man who had once worked on the farm where we were heading to. He told us to look out for a large hollow oak tree where, he claimed, some soldiers had taken shelter from a storm during World War II. Yeah, I think we take this one here on the right. We constantly checked the map to make sure we were taking the correct footpaths, as there are numerous paths in the area. Confident that we were on the right path, we set off across open fields towards our next destination, which was Walkern Hall Farm. The temperature was now in the high 20s and we were certainly feeling the heat. We eventually arrived at Walkern Farm and we had a quick search round for the old oak tree which the gentleman had told us about, but we couldn't find it. Either we were looking in the wrong area or maybe it had been chopped down at some point. We walked through the farm until the path took us out across more fields, and we were now heading towards a place known as Wood End. After about half a mile across the fields, we arrived at a thatched cottage, but it was here that we started running into problems. The layout of the land didn't seem to match what was on the map. On 2 occasions, we ended up taking the wrong footpaths before I realised that these old houses weren't marked on the map, and the path that we wanted was actually right in front of one of them, concealed by bushes. The path runs alongside some gardens and eventually brings us out into the yard of another cottage on the outskirts of the village of Wood End, near Ardley. As we entered the tiny village, I stopped to look at one particular house, which used to be a pub called the Checkers. My great-great-grandfather owned and ran this pub from 1901 until he died here in 1905. And the pub closed back in the 1980s. It was a shame that it wasn't a pub anymore, as the temperature was now soaring and nearly 30 degrees. Sylvie and I were dying for a cold drink. About a mile down the lane, we come to a place known as Moor Green, which is just a large green with a few nice old cottages around it. And one of these also used to be a pub known as the Goose, which also shut down many years ago. It was frustrating. We still had over a mile to go before we reached the village of Ardley, and at least they've still got a pub there. We eventually made it to Ardley, and we were only minutes away from a much needed cold beer. The Jolly Waggoner is a very popular pub, one which we visit quite often, and today's visit was most welcome. A well-earned beer, eh?
There's somewhere down the road.
Yeah. The pub is owned by the farm directly opposite. Church Farm is a popular place for families to visit, and also has a reputable farm shop and tea shop. It also has a very popular and well used campsite. Well, after that much needed drink, we set off through the village on our walk back towards Walkern. We stopped briefly to look at the village green, which is surrounded by many charming old thatched cottages, and surprisingly these buildings are only about 100 years old. As we left the village, we turned left onto a footpath. The path takes us through an area of woodland which offered welcome shade from the blistering sun. Soon, however, we were back in open fields, as the path took us down the hill back towards Walkern, about 1.5 miles away. Along the path we came across tons of chamomile plants. I made a note to come back and pick some of these for chamomile tea. The path eventually brings us back to the church where we started off, and the walk's taken about 5 hours and covered approximately 8 miles. It was a lovely walk despite the ferocious temperatures. Anyway, see you next time.